Erin E. West was born in Mildenhall, England. Her family moved around quite often due to her father being a veterinarian in the Air Force. As a child and teenager, she learned camping, fishing, and outdoor skills living in Alaska with her family. She was a competitive gymnast for 15 years and a runner for 20 years. All of these experiences prepared her for a new interest: adventure racing. In 1995, she was invited to try out for one of the coveted spots on the U.S. Camel Trophy race team, sponsored by Land Rover. She was invited to be a road test driver for Four Wheeler magazine the same year. In 1996, she competed with a 5-person team in the Echo Challenge in British Columbia. Boasted as the world's toughest race, the Echo Challenge pits competitors non-stop against the wilderness for 8 days, involving several different outdoor sports such as canoeing, whitewater rafting, mountain biking, and horseback riding. She and her husband compete as a 2-man team in shorter distance adventure races. She and her family camp, hike, and rock climb often.
I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you're a beginner to camping, or maybe you experienced the outdoors in your youth and you just want to re-experience it again. Well, I want to congratulate you because you've taken the first step in the right direction to becoming a better camper already. You've admitted your inexperience and you want to know more before you head out the door. That's the safe way. I'm going to try to ease any anxieties, fears, bewilderment you might have about camping and the equipment and planning involved. Stick with me. We're going to make it easy. I'll safely get you from the backyard to the great outdoors. Let's talk about the difference between car camping and backpacking. Backpacking is loading everything into your backpack that you'll need for a specified period of time and heading off along a trail to camp and hike. This video is about camping, car camping. Car camping is loading everything you'll need for that specified period of time into the trunk of your vehicle, driving to a campsite or a designated camping area, pitching your tent, and existing out of the trunk of your vehicle. The greatest thing about car camping is that you can include most of the conveniences of home without being at home. And if you've forgotten anything, you're usually just a short drive into town or there's a campground mini store available. Some pros might turn up their noses at this kind of camping, but if you get them to admit it, most of them started this way, and then they became more adventurous later. The most important part of any camping adventure is having a plan of action. Get together with your kids or the group of adults you might be camping with and decide where you'd like to go, when you'd like to go, for how long, and a destination. Choosing a destination might be one of your first obstacles. You can narrow all these things down if you keep in mind your needs. Are you camping with children? Would you like to hike, swim, canoe? Are you a fisherman? Would you like to photograph wildlife? Would you like to be in the mountains, on the water? So get guidebooks, maps, brochures, everything you might need to make an informed decision, and then get together with your fellow campers or your family members. Make a plan of attack. Divvy up responsibilities, make a chore list. Just get together and have some fun. Make it easy on yourself. Now let's go see some of the things you'll need to make it successful. If you've chosen to go camping in a designated camping area or a campground, there are still some things you might want to consider once you've arrived. First, scout the area thoroughly. Look for some flat ground. Flat ground is good because you don't want to fight gravity in a slippery sleeping bag all night. Enlist fellow campers or your kids to help clear the area of rocks and other debris. Look for natural windbreaks. An example of this is the dense shrubbery up here and the slight elevation climb. Also, large boulders and a large bank of trees. Also, does every campsite have an open pit fire? And what are the fire rules? If they do have a fire pit, it's usually well maintained and clear. How close are you to the facilities? If you're camping with kids, you might want to be close to the bathrooms just for those midnight runs. I've chosen a camping area that's close to the water. Now that can be a really good thing, or it can mean a lot of other camper activity day and night. How far away are you from main roadways, intersections, and parking lots? That can mean headlights in your tent at night and a lot of car and truck noise. Another thing I like to point out here is before you ever leave home, you can do some of this homework by calling the campground you plan to visit. Those people are generally very helpful in helping you pick out a campsite. Make sure you let them know what your needs are, that you're camping with children, that you want some seclusion, that you don't want a lot of noise maybe. They can help you make that choice. One of the most important things about choosing a campsite is do your homework. We've come to my favorite part, the general equipment and clothing checklist. Proper equipment and the right clothing and the right amount of those two things can make or break your trip to the outdoors. Let's start with something relatively painless like clothing. I recommend you pack. Now you don't have to wear this every day, but pack 3 layers of clothing. Your first layer is your inner layer or your underwear. Your second layer is the insulating layer. And then your third layer would be your outer or protective layer. Pack these things in your car, pack them in your backpack when you go on a hike. You don't have to start out every day wearing them, but you'll be prepared. Watch your kids closely. Watch yourself as temperatures change, activity levels change. You can take off or put on any one of these layers to help you remain warm and comfortable. Your first layer is your inner layer or your underwear. Now I'm showing here some long silk underwear, but it doesn't have to be long underwear. The inner layer can be a sports bra, briefs, bicycle shorts, a t-shirt, but I recommend you stay away from cotton or cotton synthetic blends. This is the reason why. Cotton collects and traps moisture, so if you've perspired heavily, if there's a stream that you've played in, that wetness will remain close to your skin. Now, if you put anything on over that wet cotton, you won't warm up because that wet cotton, again, right next to your skin. I recommend a polyester or a silk inner layer. This is my silk long underwear. It's pretty durable, not as durable as some polyester blends, but it's lightweight and it keeps me warm. The inner layer wicks moisture away from your body and moves it out to the second layer. The second layer in the layering system of dressing is the insulating layer. The function of the insulating layer is to take that moisture that's been moved away from your skin and pass it through and trap some body heat. Now this is a fleece polyester jacket. It's very durable, it dries very quickly, and it's lightweight. Another example of the insulating layer is a good polypropylene. I've gotten by on strenuous hikes or long treks backpacking with just these 2 pieces of clothing. Okay, the next layer in the layering system is your outer or protective layer. It has 2 valuable functions. The first of which to protect you from abrasive surfaces, twigs, branches, things that could scratch or tear at your skin, and from outside forces like precipitation or rain. The other function of the outer protective layer is to try to remain breathable. You want to choose a breathable fabric like Gore-Tex so that the moisture that's been moved through the 2 other systems of layering can go ahead and pass through this outer layer and keep you warm. I recommend Gore-Tex. Gore-Tex is a magical fabric that manufacturers use to make their clothing equipment. It does remain breathable and it does protect you from outside forces. If you don't want to spend the money for Gore-Tex, go ahead and go with a standby plastic rain jacket or PVC coated rain jacket you might already have. The only downfall to this plastic jacket is that moisture will not pass through it. It is not breathable. Moisture will be trapped inside and can even make you hotter. So be careful, especially with kids. You need to watch them and make sure that if they're starting to perspire or they're uncomfortable, you can remove one of these layers. Now, let me go over this again. The layering system is only for preparation. With these 3 layers of clothing, you're prepared for anything. You don't need to start out every day with all these 3 layers. But if you're out on a hike, the temperatures drop, you can remain warm and comfortable with just these 3 layers of clothing. It's that easy. Okay, included in clothing are your accessories. Now, accessories are hands, feet, and head. You need to pay attention to these things because more heat is lost through your extremities than any other part of your body. The layering system can be applied to accessories, but it's a little bit of an overkill situation for beginning camping. So when you're choosing mittens and gloves, hats, or socks, I recommend again staying away from cotton or cotton synthetic blends because they trap moisture. Your fingers and toes will be cold. Try to choose polyester and synthetic or fleece items. These things will help keep you warm. They're durable. They dry very quickly. Since we're talking about socks and especially mittens and gloves, let's talk about size. Make sure that these things fit before you leave the store, before you leave your friend's house if you're borrowing equipment. If your socks and your mittens are too tight, you'll have toes and fingers that can't move around and generate heat. They'll be cold. Also, toes can rub together and cause blisters, ingrown toenails. If your socks or mittens or gloves are too large, one, they'll fall off, bunch up around your fingers and toes, cause more rubbing around your heels. Again, you'll have some blisters. Another thing to think about as a line of defense against moisture is a waterproofing system. Waterproofing systems are widely available. You can waterproof just about anything from your clothing, boots, tents. They're inexpensive and they're easy to use. I've waterproofed some clothing here with a wash-in treatment. Now let me show you an example of how efficient a waterproofing treatment can be. Look how wet this sock gets. Now this could be the perspiration on your foot. You'd end up with a cold foot. Now this is the sock that's been waterproofed. Runs off. You're going to have a warm, nice, toasty, comfy foot here. I recommend a waterproofing system. Waterproofing does not last forever, however. You need to continue to do it after each washing or every season if you're doing a tent or sleeping bags. A lot of people come to me and ask running shoes or hiking boots. Well, running shoes are meant to run long distances. If they're comfortable and you have a pair, use them. We're talking light day hiking here. Now, if you plan to go off trail or you might need some ankle support, make it easy on yourself and your budget and go for a light day hiker with some Cordura and fabric. These fashion boots will be fine if they're comfortable. Now, this is a little overkill. You're not climbing in the Himalayas. And don't forget about waterproofing. You can waterproof every one of these boots. There's a waterproofing system available for fabric and leather. I'm asked a lot of questions about sleeping bags. Things like, what's a temperature rating? And can I use the old standby flannel bag I had when I was a kid? Well, my advice is to keep it simple. The main function of a sleeping bag is to keep you warm and comfortable on a chilly night. Now, a sleeping bag does that by trapping warm air created by your body. That helps keep you warm. However, it allows some breathability so that perspiration vapor can escape, therefore keeping you warm. There are several different shapes and sizes of sleeping bags. Now, this is a rectangular sleeping bag. The thing about a rectangular sleeping bag is obviously it doesn't conform to your body shape. So there's a little more air in here that your body has to work extra hard to warm up. More potential for cold. If you think you're camping in warm weather and you don't think the weather's going to change, go with this bag. It's fine, it's usually inexpensive, it'll last you. Now, this is a tapered bag. You have a little more room at the head and shoulders for moving around, but it tapers fairly drastically to the foot area. You still have less space in this bag in which to fill with warm air, so you're probably going to stay warmer in this bag. Now, this is a mummy bag. A mummy bag can be more constraining because it conforms to your body shape, but it's warmer because there's less space to heat. Now, if you're renting or borrowing a good sleeping bag, that's okay. But if the sleeping bag is not meant for someone your size, say you're shorter than the sleeping bag, a good tip is to go ahead and stuff your clothes in here, the clothes you're going to wear the next day, and that'll help take up some of the space so there's, again, less space for your body to have to heat. A mummy bag can be closed almost completely around you. That's another reason why it's so warm. One of the things to think about when you're looking for a sleeping bag is fill. That means what's the bag stuffed with? Two kinds of things, synthetic or goose down, some kind of feathers. Goose down is going to be more lightweight. It offers a greater warmth ratio, and it compresses to a really small size. Now, if you're a backpacker, you're concerned about size here. Since we're car camping, we're not really concerned that the bag gets really small. If a down bag gets wet, it loses its ability to keep you warm. Think of a wet paper bag. Now, a synthetic sleeping bag is great for just about all situations. In contrast, it seems heavy and bulky to a down bag, but it's very durable in the field. It will always keep you warm. It dries very quickly, and you're not really concerned about weight, again, because you're car camping. So go ahead and go for the bag you want. The last thing I'd like to mention about a sleeping bag is the shell of the bag. Now, these are usually made of a polyester or a nylon taffeta, some sort of a synthetic. This will be a line of defense against spilled coffee, twigs, rocks, other kind of debris underneath your sleeping bag, and rain. Look for something that's going to protect you from those things. In review, I'd say if you've checked the weather advisory and you can depend on some warm weather, go for the old standby bag that maybe you've had since you were a kid. You'll probably be okay. But if you don't want to risk it, buy, rent, borrow a good sleeping bag. Because a well-rested camper is going to be a happy camper. Sleeping pads have two main functions. The first is to provide insulation for your body from the cold ground, and the second is to provide some comfort from debris such as rocks and twigs that you'll be sleeping on top of, most likely. Several different kinds. This is the most comfortable probably and the least expensive. I think I paid $3 for this. However, most of the time they puncture with those rocks and twigs underneath, and so they're not very dependable. I wouldn't recommend an air mattress. Next, this is a thin closed cell foam pad. These do come in many different widths. They're virtually indestructible, they're not very expensive, they're not very comfortable either. After that, we have a foam pad that's been slipped inside of a nylon sleeve. You know, these are pretty inexpensive as well. They're not the most comfortable, but they're pretty durable. And then God created the self-inflating sleeping pad. Now this is a nylon outer shell bonded to a foam cushion core. This pad comes to life when you loosen a valve. You can speed up the inflation process by blowing a few puffs of air, then resealing the valve so that the air won't escape. These are usually very expensive, between $30, $60, $70. Wonderful. They're very durable, they provide great insulation from the cold ground, and you'll have a comfy night's sleep. Now, don't laugh, but this is a sleeping pad I grew up with. It's about 2.5 to 3 inches thick. My dad went to a store that deals in foam core padding, and he had it cut fit to size. You could also go to an upholstery shop. They have a lot of foam padding. It's really durable. It's obviously inexpensive. If it gets damp, it can be a little chilly, but it's always provided pretty good insulation from the ground and from the rocks and debris. This would be a good choice. Now, just a word about pillows. These are two examples of camping pillows. Both are small in size. This is a synthetic camp pillow, and this is a down camping pillow. Both are really comfortable and would provide great cushioning against debris underneath you. Now, this down pillow compresses to a really small size. Remember, however, with down, that if it gets wet, it loses its capability to keep you warm. Since you lose a lot of heat out through your extremities, your head, you want to pay attention if you're going to buy a down pillow. Now, if you don't want to go out and spend any extra money on a pillow, just bring one from home. It's always a good idea. You're car camping and you're not worried about weight. Another tip is just take a pillowcase and fill it with some clothes. Makes a great pillow as well. Okay, let's go over backpacks and other types of equipment carriers. Equipment carriers come in all shapes and sizes. There are backpacks for a 2-week trip to the Himalayas, or there are light day packs just for the afternoon. There are fanny packs, water bottle holders. Don't get talked into getting an internal expedition weight pack such as this. This is definitely overkill for your light day hiking. Plus, they're very expensive. Both of these would be considered light day hiker backpacks. This one is more for vigorous hiking. It has lots of whistles and bells. You can batten this one down so close to your body that it won't shift away from your body at all. Some of the things I look for in a backpack, even a light day backpack, are padded shoulder pads and a padded back. This is going to make anything you carry in your backpack more comfortable for you. Also, this one has some water bottles on the side. This one has one water bottle on the side. Should be enough. Remember, your light day hiking here, so think lunch, your emergency equipment, an extra change of clothing, some dry socks for kids. Now, whether I am looking at a light day backpack or just a fanny pack such as these, I like to have some equipment straps on the outside so that as I shed some layers, if I'm starting to get warm, I can attach them to the bottom of the fanny pack. Here it's got some shock cording that you can loosen and roll up your jacket and attach to the bottom. This has some equipment straps here that are adjustable so that you can attach just about anything to the bottom of this. Also inside it's got several pockets. You might be able to put your car keys in here. Now, equipment carriers come in different sizes according to your body type, so you want to make sure you try it on, whether you're renting, borrowing, or buying. For instance, this fanny pack probably wouldn't fit one of my little kids, but with the adjustments it has on it, I can make it fit perfectly. Also, they have extra water bottle equipment holders. These are great for my kids and for other people who have back problems and don't want to carry a backpack or a fanny pack, because they clip right onto your belts, or if you just need an extra water bottle on your fanny pack or on the waist belt of your light day backpack, you can slip it onto that. Voila, look Ma, no hands. Now remember, anything can happen when you're camping or you're on the trail, so it's a good idea for your safety to carry these things in your equipment pack at all time. For example, waterproofed matches, some food for quick energy, an emergency blanket for treating shock, a good small first aid kit. I carry a tarp just in case you're caught out on the trail in bad weather. I think it's a great idea to have a trail map. Take some rain ponchos or other foul weather gear, a flashlight, and some extra batteries. So include these things along with a lunch and some water in your equipment carrier. You'll be set for a great day on the trail. Tents come in all shapes and sizes, with as many options as a new home. There are some important things to remember when you go to buy, borrow, or rent a tent. Always keep your needs in mind. You probably don't want to put 4 or 5 people in a small backpacker's tent such as this. Maybe you want to go with a larger model. The next thing you need to keep in mind is make sure you have all the pieces that are included with the tent, most especially the manufacturer's instructions. You need some stakes and some extras. Most tents come with aluminum or fiberglass shock-corded poles that provide the skeletal structure for your tent. Those poles go through sleeves or hoops or lock-on pieces to help provide the frame for your tent. Also, most tents come with a rain fly. Now, a rain fly is you and your tent's first line of defense against foul weather. Now, this small tent has just a small rain fly. That's all you need because the rest of the tent is self-contained against foul weather. This tent here has a rain fly, the green piece you see, that covers the entire tent. This extra room here is called a vestibule. You can see the tent standing inside. The next thing to remember is pitch your tent at home. This is important because if you arrive at your campsite after dark, you won't know what your tent's supposed to look like. You're trying to read the instructions. It makes it really hard to set up a tent if you don't know or you're not familiar with how to pitch that tent. Now, there are so many tent pitching scenarios. I can't go through all of them with you, but most are very basic. Gather your fellow campers or your family members together. Spend a night acclimatizing to camping in the backyard, complete with roasting marshmallows. Read the instructions. Most instructions include pictures and diagrams that'll help you along. Choose a tent that's based on your needs. Take care of it and enjoy. Let's talk about how to get all that equipment into your vehicle. My motto is to store small and pack large. What I mean by that is take smaller related items such as these bug sprays and bug creams. And since there's great potential here for leakage, I like to store them in some sort of a baggie, preferably a freezer type zip locking bag. And this will ensure that there is no leakage out to the other items, no deterioration on the other bags. Then you store all those things in perhaps another larger zip locking type bag or a ditty bag. This is an example of a ditty bag, small nylon or a nylon taffeta bag. And you can store those things together with some sort of labeling into a larger plastic bin that you've also labeled in a more general manner. That way everyone in your camping group kind of has an idea where just about everything is. Now, the reason I like these clear zip-locking type baggies the most is because you can see very quickly what's inside. Also, you can write on them. You can be as general or specific as you'd like. And for kids, they can visually very quickly see what they need to grab for. Here I've stored together some personal hygiene things. That way, if you need to go and do some duty off trail, you can just grab one bag and take toilet paper, personal wipes, a shovel to dig a cat hole, and some plastic baggies for bringing out any debris you might have. Here's an example of rain gear. If sudden storm comes in, you just need to grab one bag and you've got a poncho or raincoat for everybody. I like to store all webbing and bungee cords and nylon rope like this here because even though you might do a great job at coiling it up, sometimes things tend to get wrapped up in each other and really tangled, and you go to reach for one thing and 17 other things come out with it. That can be a little frustrating. Also, I like these mesh ditty bags. They're good for dirty clothing that you don't want to mildew if it's wet, or you can put pots and pans or dishes in here and rinse cold water through them if you need to wash or rinse some dishes. Now, this is a first aid kit that's already self-contained. You can purchase it like this, or you can put together your own first aid kit in another type of a ditty bag that has a mesh see-through front on it with a zip. We have a list of things you should include in your first aid kit in our checklist. Now, remember, in car camping, you're not concerned about weight. So these big plastic bins, once they're ready to go and labeled, can be put right in the trunk of your vehicle. Also, just as a note, just in case the things in your bins are doing double duty in your home, you don't want to store them away till next camping season, you can make a list like I've done here. I've just typed mandatory equipment, things I'd like in the kitchen, and I've laminated them, attached them to a little piece of rope here, and then put them on the bin so next year when I'm going to camp for the next camp adventure, I can just stick all the things from the home right back into these bins and I'm ready to go for the next camping trip. Now, you might recognize these little mini bottles from your last airplane ride. Whether you drink or not, your flight attendant will probably save these for you if you just ask. Make sure she saves the lids as well. These little bottles are great for storing shampoo, camping soap, lotion. Also, we'll talk about this in kitchen, but you can punch holes in the lids and include things inside like salt and pepper, other types of spices. It makes a great kitchen storage. This does have some potential for leakage around the lid because the seal has been broken. So I think it's always a good idea if you're storing anything in a mini bottle to put it in one of those zip-locking type freezer bags. Always pack an extra car key. I locked mine in the car once and had to trek 30 miles to find a tow truck. So it's always a good idea to pack an extra. Well, that's it for storage and packing, just for your general equipment. We'll go over some more storage once we get to the kitchen. The key to eating well, whether on the trail or in camp, is planning. Most of that planning and preparation is done long before you leave to go camping. Here's the secret. Keep meals simple, easy to prepare, and nutritious. Now, there's no reason to get complicated for any meal other than dinner. For breakfast, I usually go with cold cereal and milk, some Pop-Tarts. You can even go with pancakes. They're pretty easy to prepare once you've got a good stove. For lunch, go ahead and stick with things like fruit, breakfast bars, energy bars, and hard cheeses, crackers, and some peanut butter. You know, kids and most adults are pretty happy with simple things. They just need some quick energy, something to keep their stomach from growling. Now, if you want to get more complicated for dinner, you can make it easy on yourself. Here I like to use these clear zip-locking type bags. I recommend the freezer type bags because they boil, or you can put them rather in boiling water and they'll withstand the temperatures. I've broken up the spaghetti so that it fits nicely into a smaller bag. This saves a little space. And then I brought some spaghetti and meatballs just from home. Now, when you go to prepare this, since moms usually are stuck with most of the dishwashing, what you can do is take your spaghetti or your soup or just anything at all, boil some water in your pan, go ahead and stick that Ziploc-ing baggie right into the boiling water. It'll withstand the heat. It'll heat up your sauce, or again your soup or anything else you might want to heat up. Take it out. You can put it right into a bowl. This will save on burnt little fingers if you're cooking some soup or some SpaghettiOs. You can go ahead and open the baggie up, hand them a spoon, and they can eat right out of the baggie. This means you won't have to do any dishes. Just throw the baggie away, rinse off the spoons, you're ready to go. Now remember, we're not concerned about weight because we're car camping, so you can bring the normal utensils from home that make you feel comfortable when you're cooking. Spatulas, wooden spoons, some tongs. Now in terms of preparation, make your pans do double duty. That way you don't have to bring a lot of pans. This I can boil water in. I can make a large quantity of spaghetti. I can also make a large quantity of hot cocoa. This pie tin here can be used as a pot lid. I can use it to mix eggs and some milk and some cinnamon and have a French toast pan. I can also fry up that French toast right in the pan, or pancakes, or even fry up your hamburgers. I like to save the plastic cups from special events our family's been to, or from the local convenience store, or a baseball game. If these melt or get lost, or you can't seem to get that darn Kool-Aid out of them, just throw them away. You can always collect more later. In your cooler, you're going to want to include things that are going to help you make those good meals for dinner, and some of the things you need might include eggs. Now, this is one of those packages that corn nuts or potato chips they come in. You can store your fresh eggs right inside. Pack between each egg with a paper towel or oatmeal that you can use for breakfast, actually, instant oatmeal. That cushions the eggs from cracking against each other. They're safe for storage. You can store this right inside your cooler. Now, don't forget the old standbys like chocolate, your marshmallows, and some graham crackers for s'mores. You know you're going to go through plenty of these. And I think I'd be in big trouble if I forgot the hot chocolate. Let your kids in on planning the snacks. They really like that. They know what they can go for when a hungry tummy comes along, and hungry campers are not happy campers. So I would stay away from things like chocolate for a snack because they sneak their way into little pockets and melt, and they make a mess on faces and hands. Go for things like fruits and energy bars, these quick energy bars. I would stay away from hard candies and peanuts, any other sort of nuts for kids, because they're running and excited, they can choke. Now, we talked about some storage before with these mini bottles. Here are the examples I told you about where I've poked a few holes in the lid and I've stored some salt and pepper. You can do this with other things like spices. Also, if you leave the lids intact, you can go ahead and put some syrup in here, some liquid butter, anything else you think you might need to cook with. Along the lines of boiling your spaghetti or your spaghetti sauce, go ahead and take things out of the manufacturer's packages. With soups, SpaghettiOs, anything, vegetables that come in a can, empty those from the can at home right into one of your Ziploc-ing type freezer bags. Then you can store these, since they've been opened, in your cooler, and they'll be fresh and ready to go. Stick it in your boiling water right into your pan, heat it up, put them in your bowl again, you're ready to go. Take things out of the boxes to save on garbage at your campsite and place them again in the Ziploc-ing type baggies. Here I've mixed at home the Kool-Aid right with the sugar so that it saves me time in the camp. Also, you can take pancake mix, any other kind of dry mixes, and mix them together before you leave home. Now, camp soaps generally are biodegradable, and you can use them for anything from doing your dishes, rinsing little hands, taking a bath, washing your hair. You could even brush your teeth with these, I think. Go ahead and, if you're going to wash your dishes, wash them at least 100 feet away from your campsite. That way you won't have a sticky, sweet mess for ants and bees. Make sure you have scrubbers. Now, camp stoves generally burn very hot, so you will need a scrubber side, and then you want a soft side as well. I like to include a set of utensils for everybody in my camp group. I try to label them, and then they're responsible for them as well. That way, nobody's searching around for their fork or spoon. And then include some cups for the hot chocolate, so little hands have a handle and don't burn. That's just about it for food preparation and food storage. Once you get everything you need together for your meals, go ahead and use those large plastic bins we talked about earlier and label them. I have one here for dry food only. Of course, your wet foods will be stored in your cooler, your milk, your eggs, your soups, and that sort of thing that you put in your baggies. And then you have one with just utensils, pans, cups, forks, knives, and spoons. That keeps everything separated. Everybody knows which bin to go to for what they need. Just make it easy. Now, if you're at a designated camping area or campground, you should know in advance whether or not you have potable water. That is water that's safe to drink. And if you do, all you need to worry about is how to haul it. I like to use these 5-gallon water jugs. They're extremely durable, fairly inexpensive. They have a convenient wide mouth here for pouring and filling. And then they have a little spigot here that is great for pouring water right out into a cup. My kids love this. They can get their own drinks. If you don't want to search for something special, just use your milk jugs from home. Clean them out really well, and don't forget to hang on to that lid. They work just as well. For hiking, I prefer to store water in these hydration bladders. They hold a lot of water, and they're easy to drink from. Or you can go with a Nalgene bottle such as this. It doesn't contain any odors. Now, if your only source of water is a stream or river, say you're hiking or you're camping on National Forest Service lands, you're going to need to use one of 3 systems to sterilize your water. There's a lot of microorganisms and bacteria that exist in natural sources of water that can really ruin your day. You don't want to come across one of these buggers. Now, one of these systems is an iodine treatment system. These are iodine tablets. Another is a modern water filter. And the third is boiling your water. Now let me go through these 3 systems carefully. An iodine treatment system, you don't want to use this if you're pregnant or you have some sort of a thyroid condition. Iodine treatment system kills most microorganisms. The downside to this is that it can turn your water kind of a murky brown color, and it has a little bit of a metallic taste to it, a problem easily solved with some Kool-Aid or Tang added to your water. It's an easy system to use and fairly inexpensive. You just add 1 tablet to each quart of water. Put that tablet in your bottle of water and cap it loosely. Shake it, wait 3 minutes, cap it more securely, wait 10 more. This water should be safe to drink after that. Let me demonstrate this water filter system for you. I have my unclean water in the big bottle, and pumping the water through the system, I'll have purified water in the small bottle. Now, remember, if you choose a water filters can break. Always choose a backup as well, the iodine treatment, or you can boil the water. If you choose to boil water to kill microorganisms, remember, the water has to rapid boil for at least 3 minutes to completely kill the microorganisms. Add more water than you think you'll use because some of that water will be lost through steam. Always remember that clean water from a natural source may look good, but it's never safe to drink or brush your teeth in. If you're planning on camping in a controlled campsite or camping area, there are usually fire pits available that are well maintained and clear. However, you can't always rely on a fire for cooking. This is the reason why. If they've had a particularly wet season, a rainy season, you won't be able to start a fire even if you want to. If it's been a dry season, they won't let you start a fire because there's a fire hazard. Now, stoves and burners come in all shapes and sizes, and they all can be fueled differently. Now, this is a lightweight, compact model favored by backpackers. This is a refillable tank, and it attaches directly to the stove. They like this for melting snow for drinking and for boiling water for those reconstituted meals we talked about earlier. This would not be enough to cook a meal for your family. It would take all night. Now, this is a 1-burner stove. This has a propane tank that you buy separately. You can just set it right into the fixture, unscrew the lid, screw the burner in on top, It has an on-off switch. This also is the switch you'd use to adjust the flame, and then you just light it. This would probably be enough if you were just camping with a small group or just a few kids. By the way, this is not a refillable tank. You would dispose of this according to the instructions on the back when you were through with it. This is my own large camp stove. You know, I can cook an entire meal on this camp stove. It's got 2 full burners, a refillable tank. I use white gas with this. And I can go anywhere from heating up the hot chocolate to the spaghetti and meatballs. Now, with all stoves and burners, just use some common sense. Read the instructions on the back of the manufacturer's label. Always use your stove and burners on a hard, even surface, and keep loose clothing and long hair away from an open flame. Now, if you're stuck inside your tent because of inclement weather, never use a stove or burner inside your tent because it can severely deplete the oxygen inside. That causes a hazardous condition for your health. So just lean outside the front door to use the stove or burner or into the vestibule area. Therefore, you'll have some proper ventilation. So be safe and have fun. You know, the sun's gone behind the mountain, and so I need to start thinking about how to light up my camping area. Now, I've chosen a variety of lighting sources, most of which are battery powered. Now, if you're using battery powered equipment, it's only as good as your batteries. So take quite a few extra batteries. Now, this is a battery powered lantern. You can use this outside or inside. It has a couple of different settings. There's a low and there's the high. Also, you have your flashlights. These you'll depend on more for emergencies or finding your way around camp in the dark. And, you know, hopefully you're going to get to your campsite before dark so that you don't have to set up your tent in the dark. But just in case you want to have a good couple of flashlights. They're durable and usually fairly inexpensive. One thing I've noticed in years of camping is that kids like to have their own flashlights. So I bought each of my children a flashlight. I've labeled it with their names, and they're responsible for it. So if they need to get up in the middle of the night to use the facilities or just to forage for a midnight snack, they can find their way back to me. Now, this is a headlamp. Just like a miner's lamp on a helmet, this gives you hands-free lighting. To tell you the truth, I really use this most for reading to my kids in the car on night drives. But you also can use it for cooking at night. There's always looking in that backpack for extra clothing in the middle of the night, other kinds of things you might need to have your hands free for. Also, there are these nifty head straps. You just wrap it around your head, secure it with a Velcro strap. There are loops here, elastic loops, for a small flashlight. Pretty neat. There are other kinds of lighting. This is an old gas lantern. Now, I don't own a gas lantern myself. This is just an example to kind of point out what you'd need to do. A gas lantern works much like your gas stoves and burners. You're going to have to fill a tank with fuel, then you're going to have to prime the fuel, light it, and then you adjust it for a flame. You know, gas lanterns are typically very bright, but they're heavy and bulky. You cannot use a gas-powered lamp in your tent because it deprives the space of oxygen. Very dangerous. So that's why I don't choose gas lanterns. Also, there are candle lanterns. Now, these are very inexpensive. You can get extra dripless candles to go inside. These are very safe to use inside your tent. Just don't set them on the floor. But they have a hanger here. You can hang them from the top of any tent. You just go ahead and light it. Okay, you've got the candle lit. You pull up the upper portion, and you're ready to go. You can hang this from the inside of any one of your tents. It's completely safe to use inside. Just don't put it on the floor because it's easily knocked over. I have kind of a nifty safety tip. I've taken my waterproof matches and I put them inside a little pill bottle. Inside the pill bottle, I've included some of those magic relighting birthday candles. So if you're in windy conditions or it's raining outside and you feel like you need to save on matches, go ahead and light that magic relighting candle. Now, say you're trying to light this candle lantern. Heavy gust of wind comes along. Guess what? You've just saved on matches. It's a neat trick, isn't it? All you need to do is cut a little piece of sandpaper, glue it to the top of the pill bottle for a striking surface. This is a little off the subject of lighting, but it's important. I equip everybody in my camp group with a whistle. That way in the dark, if someone can't find their way back, they can alert me or someone else where they are. It's an inexpensive safety tip. Now, just in review, remember that if you choose a battery-powered light source, that it's only as good as the batteries you have. So bring new and bring plenty of batteries. If you choose a light source that needs matches, make sure they're waterproofed in some way. You can take household kitchen matches and dip them in wax for waterproofing. You can waterproof them in a bottle such as this. These are strike anywhere matches. Bring plenty of those. Remember, candle lanterns can be used inside your tent. Gas-powered light sources may never be used inside a tent. It's very dangerous. So there you have it. We're ready to have a great time here at the campsite with plenty of light. The best part of my camping adventure is the end of the day. This is when I get to sit and relax and have a good time with my family. Remember, proper planning will ensure the success of your camping trip. I hope you have a great time. Hey, who's got the chocolate?